All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to more Drawin and John. Today I'm going to be working on a drawing that'll be going in a local gallery opening. Basically the the exhibit that's coming up, the wonderful person who is curating it, she got a bunch of local writers to write a little verse or a poem or a short excerpt of any kind, and then invited some artists to pick, from those, whichever one resonated with them most, and then create a 2D piece of art based on that. And then the exhibit will be in November and December, I believe. But the due date is on the 30th, so only got like 6 days to go. But we're not in a rush. Excuse me, a little sip of coffee. I've been working on it last week or two. I kind of had the idea and then just started sketching it out and doing little bits at a time. Basically, I can take you through it if you like. But it says here, from Barren Branch, I chose a comic book kind of format, if that wasn't obvious. But from Barren Branch, a swing called Sweet to take the shadow of her tree. And you got like a little swing there. I went pretty on the nose with the imagery. I'm very bad at reading and interpreting poetry, but then that's neither here nor there. From Barren Branch, a swing called Sweet to take the shadow of her tree. A tender catapult, she cried, I soar, but no one watches me. So on a limb I sent reply, and gave my weight before the sky, for placing me among her stars. And then this is the panel we'll be working on here, the last one. And it says, I paid the unseen with my eyes. So I thought it'd be a fun opportunity to draw some nice big dragonfly eyes. So that's what we'll be doing today. But before we get into that, I do want to tell you, I got a few books. We'll start with my most recent, I guess. I have 2 art books here, Facebook and After Frank Miller. Facebook is a book of portraits that I have done, pen and ink. Mostly it's all fountain pen, but these first 3 are dip pen and brush, and then we get into like fountain pen stuff. All from either photograph or observation. I usually, with the exception of the dip pen ones, these are all directly ink to paper. And you can get that for $5 from my web store, from my Shopify. And then I also have After Frank Miller, which is a fanzine tribute to Frank Miller, where I take the Dark Knight Triumphant pose and try to cram as many characters as I could think of in that pose. I drew and published this whole thing in about a month. So it was every day coming up with a new guy, putting him in the pose, and then on to the next one, and then publishing it before I had to do the Charleston Zine Fest. But you can also get this for $5. At the very back, you can, I had a little blue line figure. You can draw your own, fill in your own features, and send it to me. I would love to see it. And then I also have Gut and Ghost, which is a comic book about a pile of guts and a ghost and their roommates. And their light goes out, and they must tend to that. Figure out how to change it, and it's a roundabout non sequiturs and non-answers and, some fun backup material. And I put a bonus 3 one-page comics also for $5. Any order comes with a free fold-out zine. I'm all out of them right now, but they're on my list to make more copies of them. So if you order them, it's me, and it's incentivizing me to go and spend money and making copies on, these fold-out zines. So please buy one. Make me spend the money to make more fold-out zines and make more copies of them. But anyway, sip of coffee. Let's get to drawing. Pull up our reference here. Computer went to sleep. And today we'll be using a G-nib with the Tachikawa nib holder. The G-nibs come in this little thing here, but I just put all my nibs in there because it's easy. It's easy. Gotta log in again. That's all right. We don't have to do that right now. Pull up my dragonfly eyes. All right, so it might be helpful too if we grab a pencil and maybe try to map out some of this. Of course, I grabbed the one with no lead in it. There we go. That way we can kind of map out the directions without getting too lost in the weeds here. Yeah, that does get a little bit wider over here. Not the lines, but the spacing of them gets a little farther apart until about right here where it gets darker. Yeah, we can have it overlap here. Okay. Hopefully this looks all right. We're going to take our time, being that this is the last panel. And yeah, you know, it'd be a real shame if we screwed it up here, especially because I was avoiding, put stuff online, like progress shots or whatever of the drawing, but I wasn't trying to draw this one too publicly here. It's a little bit of a struggle, Sometimes those problems are just easier to solve, not out in the open. But I figured I'm kind of in the home stretch here, so I might as well unveil it officially to YouTube. And I don't know. What am I talking about? It doesn't matter. I never say anything really that interesting on here. It was occurring to me recently. I kind of just sometimes I'm quiet for long stretches, and sometimes I say just utter nonsense, or I'll just talk about the drawing, but I tend to repeat myself. So there's not really that much I'm really saying. And then I listen to, like everybody, I listen to podcasts to pass the time, and it's all right, well, they're talking about stuff I'm also just trying to avoid. I'm not trying to get into current events. They're very scary. Which even just saying that makes it sound stupid. I have a very naive, childlike understanding of these things, which, I don't know. Ultimately, maybe I do, but I don't think it matters either here nor there. I think we are on a pretty unstopping trajectory at this point, right? I mean, and it seems like it's been like that for quite a while. And I don't really have any more power than anybody else does. And it very clearly seems to me that that power that everybody thought they have is whatever. Who cares? It really doesn't matter. I'm just trying to draw a dragonfly here. Nobody's here for my opinions on any of these things. Half of it's, though, I'm trying to think about I just draw, so it's that's kind of the appeal. That's kind of all I want to do. But what is it that people want to see? I don't get that consistent views. Some of them they vary pretty wildly, and I can't really tell I would imagine it'd be subject matter or like what I'm drawing, but it doesn't seem like it. But I don't know. What is it that, some of those videos, I get like 45 views. If you're watching this and you're digging it, what is it that you're liking about this that I could do more of? Certainly not talk about like Israel and Palestine. That's not going to happen. I could try to talk about what techniques I'm doing and stuff, but I think, when I'm working on something like this, I'm kind of just doing them over and over again. So like, I don't know how much that would be beneficial to people. I don't know. I guess I could clip more of those things and try to drive traffic to the channel that way. But again, now we're getting in the territory where we're just talking about like, how do you make the channel successful? And nobody's here for that type of content. This might be the worst episode of Drawin and Jawin so far. I decided to open my mouth and be like, what are we going to talk about today? So let's shift. We'll still talk. What have you guys been up to? I'll tell you what I've been up to. One of the things when you get these like kind of long-term projects that you're chipping away on, you can start to go a little bit stir crazy. So I decided in the last week or two, like last week and the week before, started going for little walks in the woods. There's a state forest not too far from my place, so every morning after everybody leaves, I go out to the state forest and I take a nice little hike in the woods. And boy, is that a wonderful way to start the day. I'll just start off with the physical benefits from that. So I tend to sit a lot. I have, I had an injury and stuff like that. So I got like some mobility issues, my leg and stuff like that. And some of it might be genetic. Like everybody in my family has like really tight hamstrings for some reason. So, you can't discount genetics or some of these things. But either way, sitting down and drawing all day is not beneficial, believe it or not, for your hamstrings and your legs. You tend to get very stiff. You don't get a lot of blood flow to your limbs that way. And you start walking around like Frankenstein all the time. And I do yoga, which is helpful. But it's also like not enough just to do that bare minimum of 2 times a week. In the evenings or whatever, and then immediately go back to sitting all day and, which also leads to like unhealthy eating habits and stuff like that. Like I'll want to, instead of eating something at home, I'll be like, damn man, I really want to crush 4 McDoubles right now. And then I'll think about it and debate it. And then ultimately I go out and crush 4 McDoubles because I'm just kind of trapped in this, I've trapped myself in this little thought process here. So in order to like kind of escape that, I was like, all right, well, instead of just jumping right into a drawing first thing in the morning, it might actually be beneficial to not do that and to go do the exact opposite. Go to the woods and go for a walk. So I started doing that. And, it's been great. Physically, I don't have as much of the old stiffness in the legs as constant. They're stiff in the morning sometimes, but they're not as stiff, which is a good noticeable difference. It's definitely easier to get out of bed when your limbs aren't bothering you like that. And then, it's mainly that and the chronic, there's some like chronic pain issues that kind of go away, or they seem to go away faster, because that seems to come with the stiffness. And again, I think that's like just having that blood flow to the extremities. When I was doing physical therapy, I don't know how much of this is like quack science, but I figure a physical therapist is like, they get recommended by your doctor, your insurance pays for them. So that can't be quackery. It's not a chiropractor. Even though there's some things that seem like they, if you were to draw a Venn diagram, they would, be a couple of things in the center there. Sometimes you'll find physical therapists at chiropractor's office. Sometimes you'll, You find massage therapists at physical therapists. Sometimes you'll find massage therapists at chiropractors. So anyway, that's all to say. The physical therapist, one of the things they told me, because after we would do our exercises, we'd have like the end, like a cool down, and I had a bunch of scar tissue in my leg, like in the front of my shin. So not only like I would get that basically worked out, but the idea was to break up the scar tissue, but to also cause blood to flow to that area by promoting, I guess when you move all that stuff around, like, if you like rub your skin really hard or something, it'll turn kind of red or whatever. It's kind of like that. But that's like, it brings blood flow to the area when you kind of disturb that, I guess. And that's good. It's healing, is what the physical therapist told me. Is like, if you promote blood flow to that area, it's like flushing all of that out, and it provides nutrients for the muscles and, the bones and whatever, just all the stuff down there, the guts of your leg. And I'm sorry if this is like gross or whatever, but when you get up and walk around and you're engaging, those muscles and you're working them and your heart rate goes up, you start to get some blood flow to those areas, and it moves that old blood away, and, you less likely to have blood clots and stuff like that, which is good. You don't want those. I mean, they can travel up to your brain, give you a nice, what do you call it? Stroke. You don't want that. So yeah, if you can, man, if you got a state forest near you and you can sneak away from your day for 20 to 30 minutes, give it a shot. Even if you can't do it first thing in the morning, do it for lunchtime. Maybe you got a state forest by your work or something. Pack a light lunch. Not necessarily bring it to the forest, but like get a nice protein dense light lunch, munch that at your desk, and then go head out to the forest, man. It's a good time. It's so peaceful. Don't even bring any headphones or anything, too. I don't bring headphones with me. I don't do music in the forest. I don't do podcasts because I have space to do that all day, Going to the forest is like, it's so nice. Even today, I didn't really want to go today. Half of me was like, just stay home and start drawing. You got plenty of work to do, but I know myself. I know if I were to do that and ignore going to the forest, I would draw for maybe, I don't know, half an hour, 45 minutes, and then I'd start looking at my phone. It's very easy to, I don't know, mentally, so I guess we'll transition into mentally how it's beneficial. Mentally, it's beneficial in that, like, it kind of gets you used to just, if you don't bring your phone, obviously. I like to use the All Trails app or whatever to kind of keep track of, like, elevation and distance I've hiked and stuff like that. But other than that, I don't look at the phone or use the phone while I'm in the woods. I don't listen to music. I don't do any of that. I listen to the sounds of the forest, and it is very soothing. You kind of get used to being able to like sit in silence and then like notice like it's actually not silent. There's things and going on, and I don't know, man. Like all this stuff seems pretty obvious, but I think if you're away from it for too long, like you kind of forget, and then you start to go a little bit crazy. I think, at least I do. Maybe I just got like goldfish brain or something. I can't retain stuff like that for too long. But yeah, man, I've really enjoyed it, and on top of that too, I've also it's really getting me more interested in like trying to go for more like kind of landscapes. So I've been taking some photos, and this. I don't know why I'm saying this year. I don't know why. I guess I seem to measure the years. My year seems to start in the fall. Like I seem very energized once summer starts to go away. The leaves start to change color. You get a few crispier mornings than, and it's, I don't know. That's when I start to come alive, I feel like. But yeah, so that is to say, this year, this go around, whatever this cycle is for me, I'm trying to get more into using color, which if you watched my Dark Mac Tonight videos, which I will link right here, where would that be? Right here? Right here? Let's see. I'll link it right here. I'll put the link right here for the Dark Mac Tonight video. Go check it out. I got a few of them. But I started working a little bit in watercolors. So I'm going to take, again, I explore these things through the medium of comic books because to me that's where I'm kind of comfortable. And then with the Dark Mac Tonight, I'm also looking at colors that are already done so I don't have to kind of make them up for myself. I have a reference, And it's a great reference too. You can't go wrong with Lynn Varley's colors, especially when she was using watercolors. Like I believe she was in Dark Knight Returns. But yeah, so I explored through that, and then now I'm doing these nature walks in the morning to start the day, and I'm thinking about, boy, now I can take what I've learned from using colored pencils with the Dark Knight or Dark Mac Tonight, and getting a little blotchy there. That's okay. And yeah, maybe try to apply that to something a little bit more traditional, I guess, especially since I don't do a lot of scenery or landscapes or anything, but it's a way that I can approach it, still use a medium that I enjoy, which is like, I've been going over top of it with a pen. And maybe learn something new along the way. And hopefully, maybe make some posts. You can even do something with them too, like monetize them. I could put them in galleries. I think the State Fair actually has a. Yeah, I should probably try to get something in there. Actually, that'd be a good idea. But that's the one thing I definitely failed on this year is like trying to. I did the Charleston Zine Fest, but that was only because I got invited to it. I didn't do my due diligence in trying to find different markets or fests and stuff I can get, or like exhibits. Like everything that I did, I was kind of like already aware of or invited to, or, it was work I did in forming those relationships in the last year. But now it's a new year, so we have to start beating the street again and getting, now that I have like a few books out, I can't just keep shilling them to you guys on YouTube, all 45 of you that stop by, which I really appreciate. Even if you don't buy my books, I mean, just sitting through me rambling on about them so you can get to the drawing part. And then you stick around for the drawing too. I mean, I really appreciate that, There's a lot that goes into doing something like this, and quite often it feels like you're spinning a lot of plates, but some of them fall, some of them don't. I don't know what I'm getting at here, but other than I appreciate anybody who's been watching what I've been doing over the last year and a half or so. And yeah, I'm looking forward to doing more and reaching more people. Because ultimately, again, gotta provide for the family. Ooh, excuse me, coffee burp. That was impolite, but I guess it's appropriate when I'm talking about trying to sell out and make money. But that's what we're all doing, right? We're all trying to make a little bit of coin. I'm not trying to get rich and famous or nothing. I just want to use this skill that I have maybe honed, or I don't know, but developed at least. I mean, I don't know, I'm all right at it. And I don't know, at least see what I can do with it, certainly can't go back to retail, and my body is not good enough to go back to physical labor, unfortunately. But it's not to say anybody owes me a career drawing just simply because I spent my time developing a skill, but I don't know. I mean, it'd be foolish of me to not attempt it, you know? At least if I fail, I know. Like, well, I tried, you know. And I made some pretty good work during the time. Ooh, I just dipped my finger right in all that ink. Beautiful. So yeah, this is, of course, this is what I'll be doing. Is definitely smearing this in front of everybody, but that's all right. We'll fix that with a little bit of gesso. I'm gonna kind of turn that a little bit. This is kind of map out. So yeah, one of the things, instead of just going, doing what I was doing, but I'd already established some of that value there. One of the other important things, perhaps as important as value, because usually one can kind of inform the other, is contour. So to kind of map out, you know, I did it in pencil a little bit, but it'll definitely help to get it a little more solid. And then we can always go in and thicken where it needs to be thickened. But at this point, it'll be like we have our net of contour lines around the shape that kind of gives it this illusion of being in the round without having to put like really any value on it. We just want that contour. We want to always be looking, not always, but we want to be taking peeks at our reference here, because there might be areas where we don't put nearly as many lines, because there's definitely, oopsie, went a little bit thicker there, but that's okay. All it takes is just a little bit of pressure, and you go a little bit thicker. See, how's this? Is this better than like, oh, this song is stuck in my head? Oh, what about this random thought I had? So I come in with a little bit of an agenda. We'll talk about the woods for a little bit. The woods are cool. What else have I been up to? Mostly just walking in the woods in the morning. That's kind of the new thing. Yeah, I've been feeling a little bit better because of it. Oh, yeah, so it's definitely impacted my yoga. You know, I go into class not as stiff, you know, which is fine. Like sometimes, you know, you go into class and you're stiffer than other days, but I think when you start to notice there's a consistency in how you feel, then it's got to be something either you're doing or something that's like chronically, you know, you got to go to the doctor, and this might be something to get checked out, you know. But I think too, if you keep a good eye on your habits, like your eating habits, or if you, I mean, again, if you just like fall out of exercising, start going for walks, man, and find a good place to walk. Like I just don't like walking around the neighborhood. Like it's it's like this, I might as, it's the same reason why, like the opposite why I like to go to the woods without headphones or music or podcasts or anything. It's like, it's just too near any sort of noise, In the woods, you just kind of, like, one of the things, all right, so the coolest thing about going to the woods in the morning, my favorite thing, I usually go about like 8:30 or so, is that like the woods are still kind of like waking up, because like the sun, if you go more densely into the woods, the sun has definitely not like hit some areas like it hit your lawn at home. So like you'll start walking in the woods and you won't even get that far in, and you'll start hearing crickets. You'll start hearing like all the night sounds. It's great. And it's like day, it's morning. And then it's also fun. There's a part in the woods that I like, if I hit it at the right time, where the sun's coming up. And I don't know what type of plant this is, but I got a picture of it. So maybe I'll, if I remember when I'm editing this, I'll flash it up here. If it doesn't flash up, I apologize. It slipped my mind when I was editing it, and I totally forgot to go in. But I'll put it up here. But it's like you're walking, and you kind of like come into this like clearing a little bit. Like the path kind of goes down in elevation, and then it starts to come up. And as you get to this clearing, there's like this big sense of things like kind of moving up. Like obviously there's trees and stuff that are growing up, but there's like I don't know, these like plants with like little white, like they remind me of dandelions, but they're like much taller than dandelions. Maybe it's a type of dandelion, I do not know. But there's like a whole bunch of them, and the light hits them just right when that sun comes right through the forest. It's really nice. It's just a nice area to walk through, I really enjoy it. That's my favorite part. I love seeing it every time I go out there, and I'm going to draw it. And it's also like, again, like it's helped me to, when I was experimenting with watercolors, we're going to start doing landscape painting. We'll try something new, but like not landscape painting. I don't know. Is it landscape painting if you're doing watercolor and ink on top of it? I mean, like, I guess watercolor is like kind of a paint, right? But it feels more like drawing to me. So we'll just call it landscape drawing. But I want to do that. But then it's like, oh, this might be an opportunity where if I make enough stuff and I bother the Harbison State Forest enough, like I think there's a little area where you can like put your phone to take a picture of like, you place your phone on it so you can get the same view every time. And you're supposed to take the picture and email it to this email so that way they can get a whole bunch of different photos. And I suppose the idea is to make like some sort of slideshow of all the different photos kind of put together. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And I was like, well, what if I did my own version of that? I'll use the same setup they got there. They got it there for me to use. Maybe I'll just slowly paint a bunch of those sceneries, the same scenery over and over again. And over time, as the scenery changes, which is like perfect now, like now is the perfect time to start doing that because the leaves are just starting to change. So pretty soon you should be able to start to see all that stuff starting to change. And I'll just do watercolors of the same scene changing over time. And then you could make a flip book out of it, or I don't know, you could do, I think a flip book would be really cool because it's like taking this idea that's like, when they do stuff like that in the forest, it's like very much like, what's things we can do to get people out here that they can participate in something, to feel like this is, theirs. And that to me is like, as cool as it is, it's like, let's integrate this tech into the forest, which, is inevitable, kind of. I mean, if they're going to, the forest outreach people or the people that take care of the forest, if they're going to be able to get funds that aren't going to be diminished every year as more and more people are spending time on their phones and inside and not going to the forest and exercising and relieving their stiff limbs, they're going to have to like meet people where they're at, and sometimes you got to Pokemon Go-ify your forest experience, I guess. So this would be like a fun way to maybe, use the technology to take the picture, obviously. This is where I'll draw the line, where I'll take the picture, I'll use the technology, and then I will do something analog with it and go back to, rather than making a animated GIF where it just cycles through a reel, which again I'll probably end up having to do if I want people to check out the this hypothetical nature flip book, the Fall Firebreak flip book. You go back to something a little bit more basic. What animation is just looking at a bunch of pictures really fast, one after the other, to form the illusion that it is all moving. So yeah, it's if I haven't convinced you to go check out your local forest, well, I guess I'll just have to keep on going and come up with more reasons so we can have another episode where I talk about the forest. Because the forest is pretty sweet, man. If you got one near you, I'd recommend it. It's good for you. There's that whole touch grass meme, but it's a little bit more than just going outside in your front lawn. You should just go for a walk in the forest. It's impossible to get lost. There's trails. They're maintained. I mean, I guess I can't say it's impossible to get lost. People get lost in the most bizarre places. But I think it is easily one of the best ways to spend 35, 40 minutes, an hour, just exploring your local forest. You really cannot go wrong. You might even get inspired too if you're an artistic type, which I imagine if you're watching me draw and you made it this far, you probably are an artistic type. Go out to your forest, man. Don't bring anything with you. Just go out there and be in it. Or bring something with you, but don't, I would encourage you to try not to go on the phone while you're out in the forest. But, I understand. This is 2024. We are living, you can't put Pandora back in its box. But we can also try to make conscious decisions to look away from Pandora occasionally. If that makes any sort of sense, which, probably doesn't, but that's okay. But I think we'll end it here. A little bit shorter of a video than normal, but you can kind of see what I'm going for here. We got some value where I left this area blank, but we'll be filling this in, and we'll be doing the same thing to this side, planning out where how our letters are going to go here, and then, we're in the home stretch. I should have this done by the end of the week in time for turn-in, but for now, I'll leave you with this. Please go check out your local forest. It's a lot of fun. It's very good for you. Please buy my books, Gut and Ghost, After Frank Miller, and Facebook. It really means a lot to me. Link is in the description. Follow me on Instagram at scoon.art. And yeah, thanks for stopping by. I really appreciate you guys that check out my videos for a little bit, Thanks. See you next time.